Counselors, it looks like everyone's here. City Administrator Sweet, are you ready?
Ready to go, Mayor.
Okay, and Christy, you're all set? Okay, we can get this meeting started. Would somebody like to press record? Christy?
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, folks. I want to welcome everyone to the August 5th, 2020 Earhart City Council meeting. The meeting is now officially in session. Before we begin our meeting, City Administrator Chad Sweet would like to read a prepared statement at this time.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, councilors. As many of you have seen in the Seaside Signal and various postings on Facebook, part of my private life has now become public. I want to address the public as I did the City Council last night. I was charged in Pendleton, Oregon, of course, with a DUII in February. I'm very thankful I didn't cause any accident or injury. I was lucky. I appeared in court. I pled no contest and entered a diversion program. I'm holding myself accountable, and I'm participating in the state of Oregon diversion program. I have continued to work hard for the city that I love throughout this process, and I do appreciate the concern and support from everyone. I acknowledge what I did was wrong. I've grown from this and will continue to do so. I want to thank my family and my friends for the overwhelming outpouring of support in the last 2 days. Thank you, Mayor. Council, that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sweet. Next up, do we have a declaration of any conflict of interest at this time?
No.
No.
I have none.
No.
I have none at this time as well. Next up, we have the approval of minutes, starting out with our regular meeting, which was our July 1st, 2020 meeting. Would anyone like to approve those minutes or make any changes to those minutes?
Well, this is Rita, and I would like to just make one little tiny change. I'm sorry, I'm the word police. But on the second page, the second to the last paragraph, when it says they are on the forefront to keep people safe, forefront is misspelled. It's not 2 words, it's 1. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Rita.
I agree, and I have another correction, if you please. And that is on page 2 as well. The first paragraph, it says Ms. Cochran obtained a copy of police policies to review. And I just want to make it more specific in that it was specifically police policies on the use of force. I also agree with Councilor Rita's comment, as well as a couple of typos that I've already discussed with Chad on page 2 and page 3. There's no meaning changes. They're strictly typos. So with that, I would make a motion to approve the minutes with an amendment or 2.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Cochran and a second by Councilor Fackrell. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have the approval of minutes for the special meeting, which was our July 7th, 2020 meeting. Does anyone at this time want to approve those minutes?
I have some changes.
Go ahead, Rita.
Well, I'm sorry, this is so picky that you'll probably just boot me off this call, but workers' comp, workers does not have an apostrophe in it.
Good catch. Okay, any other changes?
Yes.
Again, I just have one, and it's on the fifth paragraph. Councillor Cochran questioned the resolution. What I did was suggest that the resolution could exclude a city council member. And again, that's just a clarification of how the minutes taker heard the tape, I think.
Okay, anything else?
Yes, I have something on page 2, bottom paragraph. On by Counselor Smith should be on motion by Counselor Smith.
Okay, any other changes?
Not by me.
All right, do we hear a motion to approve with changes?
I make a motion that we approve the special July 7th council meeting with corrections.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Councillor Smith, second by Councillor Fackrell. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next up we have, by the way, we will be having our regular visitors section this evening. Anybody that does want to speak can go ahead and email me at mayorbrown@cityofyourheart.com, and I will call on you in due course. We'll also just have an open round too for folks to speak, and if you do speak, just a reminder to please give your name and address for the record. But that's coming up here in a bit. Next up, we have Planning Commission report. We have read the report that's in our packet. Does anyone have any comments on Planning Commission report?
I have two comments. Staff present is not Chad Smith, it's Chad Sweet. And the second paragraph, Carol is talking about the master parks planning, and that they're doing a study to accurately assess vacant buildable land. For me personally, I didn't realize that was a part of the process. I fully accept if it is. From our first meeting with the parks plan, I felt from the report at that time that we were more on track with the timeline, I would just say. And I can talk more about that in my report.
Okay, great, Paulina. And I did notice it said planning, master planning was 5% complete.
Right. What I would just say at this time is that from the report and looking at the timeline that the council was given, even though there is some background work that Carol is doing, it sounded like, even though it feels like a late start, that we're actually pretty much on track, which still may be only 5% complete. But we're still kind of on track with the timeline that she provided the council a number of months ago.
Okay, excellent. I was gonna just touch on the Parks Master Plan in my report, but I'm not gonna. take away anything from you, Helena, because it sounds like you've got it in your report. So next up, we have the mayor's report. I just wanted to touch on a few things. I was able to attend the first Parks Master Plan committee meeting. Councilor Cockrum is the council liaison on the committee, so she's going to report a little bit more in detail, but I thought the meeting went really well. George Van Humison, who was on our Dune and Vegetation Committee, was elected as chair, so he'll be running the meetings. I think he'll do a really good job. And really excited to see this process move forward and to hear regular reports from Councilor Cockrum as well. So we'll hear a little bit more about that. Just touch on a few things with the Gearhart Grade School. Our city administrator, Chad Sweet's going to talk about that in detail a little bit more, but we have spoken to the person that is looking to purchase the property and has expressed interest in allowing us to use part of the property as park area, including the ball fields in use for Seaside Kids Sports as well. So there's just a few things that in order for the city to do that, there's a few I's to dot and T's to cross. And so Chad's going to go over that a little bit more in detail, but I hope that's something that we can consider. And the sale hasn't closed yet. It sounds like it's possibly going to close in October, so we do have a lot of time to talk about it. But excited to talk a little bit more in detail about that. One thing of interest for a lot of you, and I've gotten a ton of feedback on this, and I really, really want to thank everyone that has sent emails in and called me in the city about it. But if you haven't noticed, we have a new speed radar on, it's right now it's on Gun Club Road, but it was on Cottage for a while. And as you know, we occasionally get reports of folks not obeying the speed limit in Gearhart on a few different roads. And so the city purchased a portable, movable speed radar system that shows the speed that you're going. But it's also got some pretty cool flashing lights as well. And I don't know if anyone's had a chance to test those lights out, but it's pretty cool. And we put it originally on Cottage. And I just wanted to give you a few stats. We'll probably be able to publish these online here pretty soon. But people have noticed people slowing down. And Cottage, as you know, is a very busy street. We have a lot of walkers, a lot of kids walking, folks walking their dogs, and some people go through there pretty fast. And so we've gotten a lot of reports of folks slowing down. And we're hoping to be able to put it in other parts of towns where there's a problem and to create good habits all over the city. So I do want to just give you just a couple pieces of data here real quick, and hopefully we'll get these results online. They're really interesting. The average speed was 24.87 miles per hour. Speed limit there in Cottage is 25. The high speed, believe it or not, was 78 miles per hour, which was really, really surprising. There were a combined 7,112 vehicles that went by the radar, which to me was extremely surprising. And I know there's a lot of folks in town these days, which can help contribute to that. So I think that this is really important that we keep using this, keep going around. We've got a ton of feedback in our correspondence about it. A lot of people thanking us for doing it, and you're welcome. We want to obviously keep people safe. So if you haven't had any experiences with it, please write into the city as well. Next up, we're going to have councilor reports, and why don't we start out with Councilor Cockrum and hear a little bit more about the Parks Master Plan.
Sure. Thank you. First, I'm going to go ahead and piggyback on the speed trailer. Just really a shout out and an appreciation note to Chief Bowman for getting that operational. And I would just say if you've driven by it and you have not seen any lights, it's because you're going the speed limit or lower. So that's a good thing. And then he did, when I told him I didn't think it was actually working, he explained that at 25 and lower, it doesn't really come on, but 25 to 30, it comes on solid. After 30, it starts blinking. After 35, it's blue and white lights that are blinking at you. So just in case, just for your education. So I'm really appreciative of his efforts to watch the speed of traffic. And on Gun Club Road, I've certainly noticed a lot of people braking when they see their speed posted. With regard to other reports, I did get a call a few days ago from Chad about some tansy ragwort out on the dunes. And I did take a walk out there and looked at that, took some pictures, and did a little bit of research because I'd heard something, I think in a North Coast Land Conservancy newsletter, I believe it was, a few months ago, that there's actually a dune tansy as well, which is not an invasive species or a nuisance species. And they do look different. If you're a flower person, one looks a little bit like a chrysanthemum and the other one looks more like a daisy, and that's the tansy ragwort. In addition, I've also learned that there are several ways of dealing with the tansy, which is on the Oregon noxious weed list. And one is to cut the blossoms or pull it up, as well as there is a moth that actually lays its larva on those flowers. And the larvae, when they hatch, eat the flowers, and it is in itself a method of controlling the tansy. So a lot of the concern is really around an agricultural area. So just something to note. And when I went out there and took pictures, which I do have pictures, we can post them or something if anybody's interested. But the moth is called the cinnamon bar moth. It's black and red. It's got a little bit of red. And they were all over the tansy when I was out there. And I was just on the Fire Road by 10th Street. So that's just my report. Don't think we've really made any decisions on what to do about that, but it is out there and it is in bloom. With regard to the Parks Committee, we did have that first meeting, and as everything, I would just echo what Matt said, but the timeline to me, I felt like we were fairly on track for what we were given a couple months ago by Carol. The homework for the team was to review the comp plan, the traffic study, or I'm misspeaking. Our traffic plan, if you will, that has like our evacuation routes, and also a state level parks report. And we will be meeting monthly a little bit later in the month. CERT meeting was held about a week ago. We're continuing to work on our radios. The cache, we're going to have that public cache date coming up in a couple of weeks. We're getting countywide ID for the CERTs. That's in process. And we've got new CERT manuals that have been passed out. FEMA provided those. A new manual from about 10 years ago was reprinted and updated in November of last year. So the active certs have those. And then finally, I have met with Chief Bowman on some of the pending legislation in the state. It's going to be in the special session for the state, or possibly will be. And so we've had some really good discussions about some of his concerns, and we may be passing some of those things on to our local representative, as well as perhaps our own suggestions or support of what's being drafted at a state level. He has done some revision of our local Gerhardt policing policies on use of force to already be more in line with some of these legislative. They're really, at this point, just suggestions. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Cockrum. Next up in Councilor's report, we have Dan Jesse. Councilor Jesse.
Sorry, it can be a hassle to get back to the mute button. Just want to maybe shed a little light on why somebody might be going 70 plus miles an hour in a 25 mile an hour zone. In the exotic car world, that is a thing, to see how many times over the speed limit you can go, and they actually take pictures of the sign showing the speed and post it on various sites and such. So it's the one drawback to an apparatus like that. That's all I had.
No, that's interesting. I was pretty surprised at that 78 miles an hour.
Wait till you see 100 plus.
Right. Okay, next up we have Councilor Smith.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Councilor. And last but certainly not least, we have Councilor Fackrell.
I have nothing either, Mayor.
Thank you, Rita. Okay, next up we have our city officer reports. In our packet, we do have our normal revenue and expenses budget versus actual report, which just to let everyone know is included now in all of our packets and is available online. So you can see how the city is spending your taxpayer dollars and how we're doing compared with our budget. And so,
Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Rita, but I just want to thank Chad for not calling it profit and loss anymore. It took me a year to get him to change that. So thank you. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, well, thank you, Councilor Fackrell. That's a huge thing, because obviously we are not a pro-profit business. So
yeah, it's illegal to make a profit. So thank you.
This makes a lot more sense. So thank you very much. So that is available online. And I don't think we have anything else to report from our city treasurer. Okay. Next up, we have our city attorney, Mr. Peter Watts. Is Peter here tonight? Do we know if Peter's here tonight?
He could be muted. He could be a muted caller.
Mayor Brown, this is Chad.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll reach out to Peter and then get back to you. So let's just go ahead and put his update on the list later. I did talk to him earlier, and he was scheduled to be on the meeting, so I'll figure that out.
Okay. He might have had some technical difficulties, so we can circle back to his report later on if that's okay with the council.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, we have our city administrator report. Chad. Chad, you'll have to unmute.
Actually, I was working on Peter, so if you could table me for the end of the reports, we'll go there.
For sure.
Thanks.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll wait to hear back for our technical difficulties here with Peter, and we'll move on to correspondence. We do have a few pieces of correspondence. Looks like we have some more elk feedback, some elk damage, as well as some correspondence on the speed sign. Does anyone have any comments on any of the correspondence or anything they want to discuss? Okay. So while we're waiting for our city administrator report and city attorney report, we do have one scheduled visitor here tonight that we can go to first before we go around. Yeah.
Matt, yeah, I'm ready to go if you are.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, Peter's working on calling in again, and then he can go after me from there.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, thank you, Mayor and councilors. I've got kind of a bigger update this time. One of them has the lengthy one is Oregon Solutions. So I'm going to paraphrase some of it for timekeeping here, but I wanted to kind of let you know where we're at with that and give you a overall view of how much time and how much effort we put into elk. So just to go back a little bit, the Clatsop Plains Elk Collaborative was designated by Oregon Solutions as a project by Oregon Governor Kate Brown in April of 2019. So through this designation, we get two co-conveners, and they were named. It was Mayor Henry Ballensiefer of Warrenton and Mayor Jay Barber of Seaside. And they're kind of putting this all together with the help of Oregon Solutions. With those two and Oregon Solutions, we formed a project team of crucial stakeholders from the state agencies, local community, government, universities, area nonprofits. The governor's office, too, has ensured the participation of relevant state agencies throughout this collaborative process. So the purpose statement of the project, just to remind you, is the community in and around the greater Clatsop Plains study area seeks to reduce elk-human related conflicts. We have expressed a sense of urgency and willingness to work collaboratively with to identify management solutions and implementation strategies. The purpose of this collaborative is to find a viable way to improve public safety, reduce property damage through outreach and education, and a community-wide approach to reducing urban elk interactions while maintaining a healthy and viable herd as a valuable cultural and natural resource. That's the purpose statement. So since the time of designation, the project team has organized our work through 4 different subcommittees. And here's the 4. We've got elk management, human management, of which I am the chair, land use, and data. And we also have a steering committee. So there's a small group of people that get together and make sure things are running correctly. The full project team, which means I think it's over 65 people, has met 4 times over the current duration of the project. And the subcommittees, such as the one that I'm the chair of, have met on a monthly basis for fall of 2019, winter of 1920, and spring of 2020. And as a result, these subcommittee meetings, recommendations were developed in each of the subcommittee areas related to and trying to achieve the overall goals of the purpose statement that I said earlier. Each subcommittee has spent approximately 20 hours together and many hours outside of official meetings, completing the matrix process for developing recommendations. We also call them our toolbox. So due to COVID, the project was paused for about 4 to 6 weeks while the team members adjusted to the realities, tried to figure out what their situation was. but we were reconstituted, I guess, if you will. And then we started to resume work together, and we began holding bi-weekly subcommittee meetings mid-April 2020, and just recently held the last meeting at the end of July 2020. Each of these subcommittees spent approximately 15 to 20 hours together again, and many hours outside. And we're developing greater clarity on the actions that we came up with. The process of determining these actions is still in process on an individual participant and thematic basis, I guess is what you could say. But it's getting nearer to being finalized. The full project team has made some specific determinations and some principles that will guide the actions. And so we're working towards that now. The project team determined it was important to develop the greatest extent possible a unified approach across all of the jurisdictions in Clatsop Plains for the recommendations and implementation of actions. Where we should strive for some flexibility, speaking and acting in one coordination voice, it'll result in the most effective and probably the most impactful positive outcomes for both, and we got to consider these things, for both the Elk, the Clatsop Plain communities, and the people surrounding it. As this is a regional issue, Elk will not understand or easily recognize that different jurisdictions are deciding to do or implement different management plans, and such an approach could have negative impacts on neighboring communities. Even as it has positive benefits for certain other communities, communities will benefit from a kind of a unified approach as well, setting clearer and better expectations. So there's also an understanding that the elk population with the urban areas of Clatsop Plains is currently too high and needs to be reduced through wildlife management techniques. The cause of increased interactions between human and elk within Clatsop Plains is understood primarily as a result of urbanization, human activity, which has expanded into, in some places, traditional elk habitat. And we've also attracted elk into the urban area in greater numbers. It's also clear that perceptions, feelings, experiences around the elk in the plains area are diverse and complex. The issue of the relationship between elk and people in Clatsop Plain is not an easy one to solve, as you all know. And there are people of goodwill who can disagree. Yet for the greatest possible outcomes for the Clatsop Plain communities and for the elk, they shouldn't be seen as a pest or completely protected and off limits. So we're trying to find that balance. Communities should also realize that the human behavior can and does cause harm to elk and communities alike, including negatively impacting their neighbors, feeding them, landscaping that maybe attracts higher potential for traffic collisions, etc., which might require elk to be, and it's in the toolbox, we haven't gone to the communities with this, but to be lethally removed as a result of increased safety hazards. We've almost had to do that a couple times. And I believe in Warrenton, they had to do it once. People should see it as our responsibility to change some of our ways, so we're working with some of that educational material. In the confluence of all these strategies in health and human management and land use policies and sustained action within these strategies, I think we're going to yield the highest likelihood for success. No one tool will serve as a magic bullet to solve this problem. We're definitely figuring that out. So timeline, really quickly, we're likely to see, 3 to 5 years for significant impacts in this work. But we aim to complete this project by the end of October 2020. So that's my report on elk. Is there any questions by the council about that? Okay, that's a lot of information. I'm actually going to detail that report in writing, and I will get that to you so you have a clearer understanding and are able to answer questions. I'll move on to the next. Emergency cash container program. So our first access date we scheduled for Sunday, August 23rd. So COVID kind of put a hitch in our giddy up, if you will. So August 23rd, which is a Sunday, from 10 a.m. to noon, we will be allowing people to come in bring us their barrels and we will store them for them. We will have barrels for sale, and you can contact the city now and purchase your barrel, come and pick it up, and put those supplies in there. We'll store those barrels, but just to kind of give an idea of what these are about, this isn't to replace your go bag. These barrels are something that will, in the event of a major catastrophe or tsunami, we'll be able to access in a few days. So it's still very important for you to have your go bag at your house with at least 3 days of supplies. There are forms online to pre-register, and you can register at the event. The barrels, again, can be purchased for the city, and we're just passing on our costs. The barrels cost $70 a piece, and they're 33 gallons, so they're not going to be able to put the entire house in there. And there's plenty available online at the city website. You can see some past postings that we've done on the blog. And the reason for an individual to prepare in these ways, I think one of the major reasons is it will be also these people, us, those that are prepared, will be less of an impact on emergency services during these times, and will be able to rebound and be more resilient. So thank you very much, city staff. Christy, you've been integral in this, and we're looking forward to August 23rd. Any questions on that? Okay. Gearhart Grade School. Matt, you were talking about the potential of it being sold. We have, Matt and I have talked to one of the potential buyers that is, I think, quite serious about coming up with some sort of project. We're not sure exactly where this process is. There's a lot of negotiations going on right now. But what this person talked to us about was really kind of interesting. They, I think, want to do a project at that site, knowing that it's going to be difficult and go through zoning, that will benefit both the community and maybe get a little bit of this person's money back out if that's really what they want. We're not too sure. But one of the things for now, if this person does purchase the property, they reached out to us and asked if we would mind partnering with them after the purchase and helping to maintain, we the city, helping to maintain the park space and the soccer fields and the baseball fields. And so Matt and I thought that was pretty interesting. So I reached out to our insurance agent, and they did some thinking on it. And really, insurance-wise, the insurance that we have is already covered. So by us mowing and doing some simple maintenance, which, you know, will be about a day's work, maybe 2 days of work a month for our staff, we can pretty well maintain that for the public until we can, as a community, figure out what the best project is. And by community, I mean planning commission, city council, the buyer, and city staff. So insurance is taken care of, and I think that would work out really well. So that's all I have on that. Does anybody have any comment?
I just have one question. Is there any possibility in your conversations to allow us to purchase the existing play equipment so that it doesn't need to be torn out and relocated? Is that even a possibility?
That's a really good question, Paulina. Thank you. What I've heard is that the school system is interested in taking the play equipment up to the new facility in Seaside. I know there's some concern, especially from Dan and I, we both volunteered on that project to install all of that equipment. And Dan can probably tell you better, but there's quite a bit of concrete underneath holding those down. So I'm not sure that it's possible, but they do know that we're interested.
And retaining it on the property?
Yes.
Okay.
And I had a follow-up to that as well. Maybe one thing, we could reach out to the school district and see what the cost would be to find out a way to purchase new equipment for them up at their new site and possibly keep that equipment there if that's something the new owner would be amenable to.
Right.
That's on our list to take care of. Thank you, Matt.
May I speak to that, Mayor?
Please.
So, as I think part of every pouring of concrete that happened that day, that we installed that equipment, I think it will be extremely cost prohibitive for the school district to try to move that equipment, and trying to level it and put it back in place with the volume of concrete attached. I think they're going to find that they end up leaving it. That's my personal opinion. So, I think we should let them think about that farther before we offer to pay anything for it.
Thanks, Dan.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, I just said thank you for that information.
Oh, you are welcome.
Go ahead, Matt.
Just for clarification, it sounds like the gentleman who is looking to purchase the property, he's in a contract to purchase the property, but it doesn't close until, I believe, October. So we do have time to get in contact with all the parties and just see what options are available, and obviously reach out to Seaside Kids as well, who are very interested in keeping those ball fields and finding what costs would be associated with taking care of those and everything else.
Thank you, Matt. We've got that as notes. A couple quick things now. Just to clarify the speed sign, Dan, we did make some changes to it. It actually cuts off at 45 miles an hour. So while it will register the speed, the blinking lights completely cut down. Also, it measures traffic in both directions. So those stats that Matt gave you were traffic going both north and south. Next update, yard debris. We've seen that in some of the correspondence of late. The yard debris this year has been extremely busy, the bin has. Back in the old days, people used to burn a lot more. And so instead of doing that for good reasons, they're bringing it to the yard debris bin. And couple that with probably one of the most extraordinary growing seasons I've seen in my 25 years of being around here. So we're doing our best. We've also been chasing around contractors. We're keeping a closer eye on the brush bin, and we have installed a camera on that bin. So after, sometimes we catch people that have filled the bin, and we haven't caught them until afterwards. Some of my staff and I are actually going around town finding those folks and letting them know that that bin is not for contractors. So contractors are not to use it. They're to take it up to Astoria or elsewhere. But so we're doing our best to try to improve that situation. I think we've made some good changes. Grant update, State Homeland Security Program grant. This is where we were going for extra supplies. The grant program coordinators spoke with County Emergency Management, and they've finished reviewing and ranking all submitted project applications, and they're going to advise the awards by the end of the month. Also on our radar is the Great Oregon Shakeout planning, so stay tuned for an announcement on the blog. But Great Oregon Shakeout is October 15th at 10:15. That's so we can practice our escape routes. Also, the city is working on its meter reading transition. We've done a bunch of software changes. We've installed software on some new transmitting equipment that will talk to the meters. So we are very close to transitioning to electronic reading. And so we'll do that for some time. And then hopefully we'll be able to go to month-by-month billing after we figure all that out, which will help save water, especially in leak issues. Any questions so far? I've just got a few extra things. All right. Short-term vacation rentals. The online portal is working. We've changed over to a new company. And so now the short-term vacation rentals are doing their applications online. It's been a lot of work. Thank you, Christy. So the goal is 100% transition to this platform versus paper mailings. Census takers will be in the area starting next week. So keep an eye open for that. Please participate. Elections. We have 2 council seats and the mayor have turned expiring. So a blog post came out today, August 5th, to kind of celebrate that, give people that information, and to give them the paperwork and procedures. And last, Christy and I will be working with the council. We're going to be holding a special meeting later this month to revise and to refine, just make some very small changes to our ordinances enacting the budget. The county had some suggestions that I think is really good for clarity. So we're going to get into a special session to take care of that here soon. I'll update you when I have more information. So sorry for taking so much time. That's all that I have at the moment.
Thanks, Jed. Peter, do we have you back?
I hope so. Can you hear me?
Yes, we have Attorney Peter Watts.
It was earlier this evening was like a television commercial where I kept saying, "Can you hear me?" And then I heard all of you saying, "Is he on the phone?" And I realized that I didn't need to mute myself because I had been muted previously. But two matters that I will mention. The first is that we got a fairly comprehensive public records request from an attorney representing the Palisades Homeowners Association, looking for approximately 2 years worth of records. And Chad has been putting that together, and I've been assisting. I've been in contact with their attorney. I really view this as an opportunity for us to demonstrate just how much public process and planning and outreach to the community we did as part of the site selection. And hopefully it will kind of inform their HOA on the process and kind of how we arrived at that conclusion. The second is the validation proceeding that we previously mentioned. I anticipate filing that with the Clatsop County Circuit Court either late this week or early next. There are a couple of changes that have been made to the statute since I last used them. And because the Palisades Homeowners Association is represented by council, I really want to make sure that the validation that we really identify all possible issues and make sure that we kind of get we get as much sign off as possible on that.
Okay, great, Peter. Do councilors have any questions for Mr. Watts?
I have nothing.
I just had one question, Peter. As part of their request, are we able to send over some of the citizen survey results and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a pretty broad request, and those would certainly be responsive to that request. So obviously we are talking about thousands of pages of information, and that's why it hasn't taken a long time. I mean, they mailed it and it got returned to them, and we got it via email, but it is broad. We will be providing, some of it is likely covered under some of the exemptions from Oregon public records law. As a general rule, we like to be as transparent as possible, and so oftentimes we will provide documents that are covered by exemption, or rather we won't invoke the exemptions, but we'll need to, identify all that and just make sure that we have a comprehensive set of documents.
Okay, great. I was going to say that a lot of that is available online too, the survey. So, okay, anything else for Peter? Okay, thank you, Peter. We appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
Next up, we have our visitor section, and we have one scheduled visitor, which is Mr. Dave Larmuth from Recology, and he's going to talk a little bit about some rate changes, updating some rate changes. Is that correct, Dave?
That's correct. Mr. Mayor, councilors, thanks for having me tonight. For the record, my name is Dave Larmuth. I'm with Recology, and my home address is 1350 Northwest Countryside Court in lovely McMinnville, Oregon.
Linfield.
They go places, they do things, yes. I went to Willamette, but...
well, I'm a Wildcat, so we're rivals. But I won't.
Really, Willamette's been terrible for a long time, at least at sports. But anyway, you may recall I was here, here in May, and we talked a little bit about our plan for the year. At the end of July, we sent the letter that we said we would send, proposing a 2.9% rate adjustment that's for most rates to be effective on September 1st. So most of the collection rates would change by the 2.9%. You should have a full rate sheet in front of you. I've got it here myself, but it just left. I'll find it. So most rates are changing by the 2.9%. Some rates don't change at all. For example, the medical waste rates are not changing this year because the price we pay to dispose of the medical waste didn't change. And then there are some of the bank fees and NSF check charges, some other fees that don't normally change with the rate adjustments are also not changing. And then the rates that change by a different number than the 2.9% are the debris box ton rates. This is for disposal of material, usually from large construction jobs, the big boxes that, like the yardary box at City Hall. Boxes like that, when they're delivered to a job site, the customer pays a whole fee, then they pay a disposal fee based on the tonnage in the box. And so the ton rates for the different materials is on page 4 of the rate sheet, are determined based on the rates that we have to pay the disposal sites to accept the material, whether that's the transfer station in Astoria or Trails End Recovery in Warrenton. So those are the rates that are changing by a different percentage. I'm happy to go into details if anybody has specific questions about their favorite service level or any other feedback or comments you care to share with us.
Council, any questions or comments?
It seems reasonable to me to have a rate increase.
Thanks, Gary. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Anything else, Dave?
No, I'm happy if you're happy. So
it's great. Yeah, we appreciate you coming online tonight, and hope you have a good rest of your night.
All right, I'll stick around for a little while, see if I can learn anything.
For sure. Okay, so next up we have our regular visitor section. And with the visitor section, this is a 3-minute visitor section online. And we just asked that folks please give their name and their address for the record. As of now, I just have one person that emailed, or one person that emailed in to speak. I'm going to check my email one more time here and see if I've got an update from anybody. Is there anyone that has called in that would like to speak during the visitor section? If you could give me your name right now, I could put you on the list. Anybody that's called in? Going once, going twice. Okay, anybody want to give me their name? Okay. Okay, I can't hear anybody, but all right. So the one,
Mr. Mayor?
yes.
May I check with Christie on something? This is Chad. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Christie,
okay.
is anybody muted at the moment?
The only folks I muted were the callers, and I have unmuted everyone.
Okay, including the callers?
Yeah, the callers are the only folks that I muted, yeah. Everyone else did it themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I do have one person or one group that emailed in a request, and this is from the Gearhart Fire Association. Are you here?
Yes.
Who are we speaking with?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, statement that we wanted to present. We, the members of Gearhart Fire Department, find this recent event under the circumstances a non-issue. Chad Sweet, on his own time, was outside the county when he committed this offense and has accepted full responsibility for his actions. We maintain our full support of Chad as captain of this department and as city administrator.
Thank you, John. John, do you want to give your name and address for the record as well?
Sure. John Baum, 656 C Street, Gearhart, Oregon.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, would anyone else like to speak that hasn't signed up yet? Okay, thanks everybody for calling in today, and we still got quite a ways to go in the meeting. All right, next up.
Mayor Brown?
Yes?
Was caller 7 trying to talk? Maybe not. Their speaker was moving, so I was just checking.
Okay. Thanks for checking, Christy. Okay, so next up we have ordinances and resolutions, and we're gonna cover resolution number 950, which is the hazard mitigations fund transfer. And we'll
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is Chad. So Resolution 950 is a budget category transfer. So at the March City Council meeting, staff requested up to $33,000 from the Hazard Mitigation Fund to begin purchasing items for a mass care cash. The funds would be replenished through grant funds awarded from FEMA through OEM State Homeland Security Program. The request was approved, the items purchased, and the reimbursement was received. So in order to replenish the $32,945 in hazard mitigation funds, a budget category transfer needs to be done, and Resolution 950 attached achieves this. City staff would recommend that a council resolve to transfer the reimbursement funds using Resolution 950.
Okay. Do we hear a motion to recommend to the council to resolve to transfer the funds as described in resolution number 950?
Well, this is Rita, and I would like to make a motion that the council resolve to transfer the funds as described in resolution 950.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilor Fackrell. Do we hear a second?
I second that.
That sounded like Councilor Jesse with the second. Okay. You have Councilor Jesse with the second. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilor. This, with your help and city staff, come a long way in our resiliency, and this is part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Peter, could you mute your phone? Get some echo. Okay, next, under old business, we have our city administrator review discussion and to schedule an executive session. Synopsis of this is, per contract, the city council is to conduct a yearly performance review of the city administrator. Documents were provided to the council at the July 1st council meeting. It was agreed that documents were to be returned to the mayor and the council president, Councilor Cockrum, 20 days later. Councilor Cockrum was going to add all of the reviews and comments together on one page. The next step is to schedule an executive session to conduct the official performance review. So that's what we'll be doing today. An executive session obviously did not occur prior to this meeting, the August council meeting, per the July council meeting staff report. Therefore, at the September regular meeting, the council will resolve to accept or deny the continued employment of the city administrator and or make salary adjustments if so desired. What we would need to do first off is schedule the executive session, which we need to check schedules. Is that correct, folks?
Yes, Mayor, this is Chad. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Rita.
It's Paulina, actually, and I just want to say that document is completely ready, with the exception of one counselor still needs to turn in their evaluation to me, please.
Okay.
Okay, and Mayor, if you would like, in order to keep moving on with business, Christy and I will work with you and the counselors to schedule this behind the scenes, and then we'll make that meeting notice public for the executive session.
Okay, just a quick note. Would that meeting, would anyone have any conflicts with that meeting being next week, or how's everyone's schedule looking? Just to get a quick purview on that.
I'm good.
Which day next week?
Maybe early in the week, like a Tuesday.
Good.
Yeah, that's good.
Dan, that work for you?
Works for me.
Anyone got a preferential time?
I'd like it earlier than 7, maybe 5 or 6 would work better for me.
Yeah. So you probably do 6, 5:30, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Christy, if you wouldn't mind sending that final email out with our meeting link, like you've been doing so gracefully. We should be all set for next Tuesday. Does that work for Peter and Chad as well? Better check with them.
That will work for me, Mayor.
And that works for me as well.
Okay. Sounds like we got a consensus there. So Christy will send out our meeting link. Thanks, guys. Okay. Next up, we have the new business, which is the city employee handbook, which Paulina has been working very, very hard on. Has gotten a draft together, and Paulina, I just want to say you've done an amazing job, and I appreciate all your hard work on this. I know it's some of this can be kind of tedious, but very something that we've been trying to work on for a while now, and I think we've got something that we can really move forward with. Quick synopsis on this is, as the council is aware, Council President Paulina Cockrum has been working with city staff to finalize a draft of the revised City of Deerheart handbook. The final draft is attached for review. Upon review, a resolution will need to be adopted in order to implement the document as policy. Council options are to approve the use of the attached employee handbook final draft. Staff will draft the resolution for the next council meeting. Option number 2 is to recommend changes to the document prior to drafting a resolution. And option 3 would do nothing if we want to sit on the draft for a little while or discuss it further. Looks like staff recommends approving the attached final draft so a resolution can be drafted.
Actually, Mayor, may I give you a little update on this?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry we didn't tie in a little bit earlier, and then I'll let Paulina also speak about this. So after some review and further deep dive into this, there's a few more changes that we need to make, and I need to work with my staff a little bit more to do so. In part by my fault, some of the staff didn't have enough time to do the review. So I would like to, with Councilor Cockrum's comments, potentially look at bringing a new draft back to the city councilors in September period of time during the meeting, and then we can move forward with these same options then. Councilor Cockrum, if you had anything to add to that or change the way that I said that?
Yeah, just a couple things. I would not call this the final draft, just to be clear. There are some things that Chad and I are both now aware of after receiving some feedback from some of the staff members that we potentially will want to make a few more changes. So there is that. There are a few formatting issues that need to be corrected as well. And I think we will be following up with either the CWS HR consultant and or our attorney will sort that out. But I think the timeline that Chad is recommending will be fine. But we need another month for sure to just complete our due diligence on this.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, guys, for all your diligence on this and your hard work. And look forward to looking at those changes. Was there anything else, Paulina or Chad, that you guys wanted to add for the rest of the council before you get back into it?
No, just that I'm appreciative of the conversations that I've had with staff members thus far, because it is very helpful to have their feedback as well as all the work that Chad has done. So it's a complicated process, and we're just going to take our time and make sure we do it right.
I would agree with what Paulina said, Mayor Brown. There's been a lot of work put into this, driven much by Paulina. And this is a big change for the city, as our old antiquated employee handbook was actually typed. So this is good stuff. It's going to be good for the city and for the employees once we finish it.
For sure, I agree 100%. Thanks again for your hard work, guys. Okay. So next up under new business is the Mechanical Watershed Council project ideas, and I'll turn that one over to Mr. Sweet.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. So the Mechanical Watershed Council applied for state revenue sharing funds through the city of Deer Heart during the 2021 budget adoption process, and the funds were awarded in the amount of $1,000. So the coordinator, Angie Riesland, contacted staff with a list of possible project ideas that would benefit both the city and the Mechanical Watershed Council. The list is attached. So I would like to forward this on to the next month's agenda also as old business. And maybe we can have a discussion after the city council has taken a look at this list and provide maybe the top 5 from each councilor that they would like to work on. We'll get more information on those and then make some recommendations. But I thought it was really great to see a grant go out and actually come right back to the citizens of Deer Heart. That was a really nice gesture by the Watershed Council, and they have been active in us and helping us with the noxious weed issue at this point also. So shout out to them for sure.
Okay, wonderful. Any other questions or comments on that?
Well, this is Rita, and because I'm not an engineer or in the water department, there's some of the stuff on the list I really like, but I didn't understand some. Like, I would like to know more about fish passage barriers and storm drain medallions. I don't even know what that is. So maybe before we decide on our top 5, somebody like Chad can explain that to me. So thank you.
Certainly. If Rita, I think we're taking some notes now, and but if you wouldn't mind emailing me the ones that you're curious about that didn't have more information, I will go research that. And I believe the storm drain medallions is a project that kind of shows the fish on the storm drain, reminding people that this is going out into nature. And so to please be aware of those things. So
fish on a medallion?
Yeah, it's even some of the storm drains themselves would have a fish image welded in or crafted into the storm drain itself. And I think they call that a medallion, but I'll clarify more.
All right.
As I find out, and I get your wishes. And please, councilors and mayor, email me a quick link of the ones you're interested in, and I'll get clarification.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you, Rita.
Yeah, that's great. I'm really interested in the bee-friendly projects. I have a friend who builds bee homes on golf courses, and he's educated me a little bit on, obviously, the importance of bee pollination. And so this is really good stuff. Okay. Any other questions on that real quick before we move on? Okay. Next up, we have council concerns, and I want to kick things off with Councilor Fackrell.
Well, I don't have any concerns, but I would really like to thank Councilor Paulina for all the work that she did on that employee handbook. It's really a daunting task, and she did awesome. So thank you, Paulina. And that's all I have. That's all I have.
Great. Let's move on to Councilor Jesse.
I have nothing.
Okay. Let's move on to Councilor Smith.
I'd like to echo Councilor Fackrell's praise of Councilor Cochran's work on the personnel handbook, because if you look at this, it is an amazing job. And I'm so happy I didn't have anything to do with it.
Thank you, Councilor Smith.
Thank you.
And speaking of, next up, Councilor Cochran, any council concerns?
Well, I would just like a quick explanation of what's going on Gun Club Road and where the overpasses over the Neocoxie, there's a big metal box in Neocoxy. I know they were working a week or so ago. I think they're doing a replacement or they're cleaning things out. Maybe just a quick explanation of what that project is.
Mayor Brown, I can handle that if you'd like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you, Elena. I had meant to update the council because this is going to be something that we're going to have to be working on moving forward as a team. You and I and Public Works and others. So what's going on in that situation is there is, and we've adopted a culvert when the city of Deerheart brought the Gun Club Road, Deerheart Loop, and 10th Street and North, all the way through to the, I think at that time was a reserve. When we brought that into the city of Deerheart, we also kind of adopted all the roadways and culverts. At that time, and that was done in the 90s, I believe. Matt, you may have been involved in some of that. It could have been before your time. But one of the culverts that goes from the highway into Neocoxy Creek that helps drain the highway is over 20 feet deep at the crest near Pfeiffer Heights. And that culvert is failing, and it's starting to bring sand in, and it's starting to create a sinkhole. So we have been trying to, we've got some camera work that we've done on it, and we've also done some clean out of that culvert. And just late last week, we found out that it's going to be a very difficult fix. So currently we're getting some information from the city to talk about how we're going to accomplish this fix, how much it's going to cost. So I don't have a lot more to respond to at that. But so far everything is safe. We're not concerned of anything. We're in conversation with the neighbors around that area. And but it is a going concern that we adopted, and we're going to work with ODOT, the county, Mark McFadden, our public works director, and try to resolve that. And then Matt, I've also got one other quick update that I missed earlier. But first, I'd like to ask if there's any questions about this culvert.
No, but thank you for the explanation.
Okay, and then just another good story. We've had a lot of great movement. I've got a champion that I'm working with Duncan's Crossing. We have had multiple meetings. Russ Haggard is helping, as well as some others, volunteers. We had a meeting with a concrete person. We're putting together quotes, and we should start pouring concrete fairly soon. Late summer is what we're kind of working at. And then after that, we're going to pour those concrete pads, build the columns, and then my champion that I'll announce later is going to help organize a lot of volunteers, and we're going to build Duncan's Crossing. It's been a lot of movement, again, with the help of Christy Ficker in getting all of these things tied in together. Austin Tomlinson has been very helpful. So that's an exciting project that I'm really looking forward to building some community support and togetherness about.
It's wonderful news.
And that's all I've got.
Elena, did you have anything else?
Just a quick clarification, the public bathroom is now open, is that correct?
That is correct. We are cleaning them more often. We are cleaning them carefully, and the public bathrooms are open, Planet.
Thank you. That's all for me.
Okay, thanks, Councilor Cockrum, and I want to echo as well. Thank you for everything you've done on the employee handbook and everything else. It's really, really hard work, and you jumped right into it, and we really appreciate it. It's something that's been about 20 years overdue, and I know it's not easy. So thanks again, Councilor Cockrum, for that.
Sure. My pleasure.
No, really, Carrie, I think she likes it.
Well, thanks, folks. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Do we hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks, for listening tonight. Have a great night.
Yep. Everybody have a good
Council.
evening.